really rad.
Yeah, when the black belts come in and they're showing off their moves to the kids,
Yeah.
like, this is awesome. But he hates going, but once he's there, he loves it.
Yeah.
And then he totally forgot that he just threw like the biggest dramatic fit to go. And then on the way home, he gets tired. So then he's just like, why are you so hard on me all of the time? And like,
Yeah.
I tried to explain to him, like, those are the moments that you have growth. Like, you don't grow when you're comfortable. So
Yes.
it's really important to have discomfort. And he's 5, so I don't know how
Yes.
much of that is like, but
I'm glad you're starting him now. My son, he's a hockey player. Dylan's a hockey player. And God, I adore this boy so much. And the truth is, I'm missing him really bad right now. He's a little bit on the spectrum, but his mama's a genius. I think he's just brilliant like his mama, and he only likes to hang out with adults and give huge orations of American history. And he'll tell you all about the French and Indian War too. And he's just the raddest. But he just had his championship hockey game for the Blue Note Cup. And they lost by 1 in sudden death. And he was not on the ace, even though he's the number one shooter in the team, the number one badass on the team. He wasn't in that first squad in sudden death, right? And they gave up a goal and they lost. So they got second place. And my son took it very, 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 very hard. And he's crying and he's angry. And he starts hitting himself. I hate myself. Why didn't I get to play? I could have done better. And he's crying. And man, it's breaking my heart as a parent. And all I could say is, well, Dylan, there's something called nepotism. Oh, because the coach has his kids on the team. So they go out, right? I said, well, son, there's such a thing as nepotism. And, actually, the truth is the world is this way. Baby boy, it's a hard and unfair world. And I wish I could tell you something that would make you feel better. But I'm sorry, baby, that actually it's like this. And believe it or not, and he's crying. Believe it or not, when you embrace this lesson about how hard the world really is and you can get back up, nothing will stop you. You will be unstoppable in your life. And that's what we do with our kids. We empower them and then we put them out in the world and we see them break down, but not collapse. We pray. They break down, but do not collapse. And they come back up stronger than before. And that's what we do as parents.
So where do you decide what you kind of like force them to do versus what they're allowed to like either quit or say that they're not interested in? So for me, martial arts is non-negotiable. So eventually when he's older, maybe he can pick the one that he wants to do. Like Hapkido is like the only one around here that I like to the program for his age.
I gotcha.
I would love for him to get into jiu-jitsu later,
Sure.
but that will be his choice. But he has to have some kind of like physical defense, right? If it was something like piano and he hated it, I would probably be like, okay, then, maybe find a different instrument or a different creative outlet and like let him choose. But I feel like it's a fine line between, you don't want them to sit, if I let him and just like veg out on the couch all day, that's not me being a good parent. So it's like deciding like, what do I force him to kind of go out of his comfort zone versus like allow him to have that agency?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a fine line. Okay, so my son's mama and her parents, who I adore, are Asian. So let me tell you something. They're gonna be working. And they're all immigrants. So Dylan, not only does Dylan do school, he does school outside of school, Kumon. I thought it was Korean because it's Kumon. I was like, Kumon. I talked to my buddy Matt DeMeo. Matt, if you listen to this, we're walking the street. I said, yeah, Matty, they got Dylan in this like some kind of Korean extracurricular academics called Kumon. He goes, Rudy, I think it's come on, let's do a little more work. So they got him in academics, hockey, which is practice every morning at 5, games in the evening, tournaments on the weekend, travels to Chicago, travels all over from St. Louis, immense. It's not even really his choice, but strangely, I don't even know how much he likes hockey, but he's gotten very good at it. It's what his stepfather really loves. The structure, discipline, the winning and losing and the cold ice and the harsh conditions of it, the physicality of it, it's making him a better young man, laying the groundwork so that maybe when he's 16 or 17, he'll do what feels right for him, or 22, what he really wants to do. But yeah, he's already talking about being an eye doctor, or ophthalmologist, ophthalmologist, eye surgeon. Whoa.
Yeah.
Go Asians! Whoa!
Yeah, they have a discipline and a path, and
I love it.
You are not gonna stray from it.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah, your mother?
My dad's actually the Japanese one. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, you get it. Driven. I love martial art. Been doing martial art my whole life. Always attracted to, when I was a little boy and I saw Bruce Lee, I was attracted to the physical and mental mastery that I saw on screen, the physicality. I was just transfixed, and we were too poor to go to martial arts when we were little, so we went to the boxing center. And then when I went to the boys' home, my brothers and I, in the boys' home, we had an incredible wrestling program. Wrestling doesn't cost very much money. Mat, some headgear, a singlet, and we have ropes and we have running, and we were really, really physically dominant because we worked the farm, and this is in Nebraska, and we're in the rain, sleet, snow, or shine, made us very conditioned. But when I graduated and I left high school, I went to the YMCA. I was always working out, and they had a martial art program there, and I was doing Chinese Kung Fu. Actually, it was my little brothers that had been lifting weights for a long time, and my ne'er-do-well at the time, middle brother, Cesar Reyes, he hated lifting weights with me, but I did this so that I would give the kids discipline, because I was taking care of them. So I was 18, Cesar was 16, Michael was 15. And we were in rough hood conditions in Kansas City, in Midtown Kansas City, really rough. 1990, lots of gangs, lots of drugs on the street, still crack on the street, incredible amount of crime. And so I had to keep us strong and keep us disciplined. And it was my brother Cesar, who was not quite so militant as I am, that stumbled downstairs and found the Chinese Kung Fu teacher, John Reeder. And while I was lifting weights, he was training. And then we went back to my little apartment about the size of this studio. And he showed me a few moves and he put me on my ass. And I was like, whoa. So that's when I started doing Kung Fu and then Sanshao and all kinds of martial arts, judo, wrestling as a base. But yeah, I love it. I think I've always been attracted to the Eastern way of doing things, of one mind, any weapon, how you do one thing and what you do defines everything about you. That very extremist kind of, I was attracted to it.
Mm-hmm. You said you do the Filipino knife fighting.
Oh yeah,
so one of my friends, he's a Tuhan.
Okay,
do you know,
so he's a maestro. He's a real freaking great dude.
Yeah, he's out in Wichita Falls in Texas.
Oh really? No kidding.
Do you know, his name's Harley Elmore. He does.
Oh my gosh, Harley Elmore.
You know him?
Okay, I've been following him for years.
Oh, I have to connect you
I
guys.
can't wait. I've been following him for years. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I've been following him for years. And I would love to, because Dylan's grandfather, who I adore, Dr. Carlos Yu, Shotokan, black belt, and Wing Chun, and Escrimador, stick fighting and knife fighting. And I was just doing knife fighting with the grandfather a couple days ago, and it means the world to me. That family has embraced me, because there were years when I was not well, and to earn their trust and to have their love and to be close to my son and all of his brothers and sisters, I'm very, very thankful, and I appreciate them very much. I just got a text from Dr. Carlos Yu. I call him Dr. C. He says, and remember, whoever has the knife has the advantage. Yeah, that's so raw. So how do you know?
So one of
Harley.
his business partners is my personal development coach.
Okay.
And then I've done, he holds this private training. It's called Principled Savage. And you go and it's close quarters combative training.
I would love to go.
Situational awareness. It is rad.
Yeah.
And then he does a bunch of training for the SEALs and some Green Berets. And
I
he
think
has
that's
a
how I heard of
nonprofit.
him. That's how I heard of him, because he was teaching some high-end combatives and principles to our guys. So.
Yeah, and then he has this nonprofit. It's called Operation Rescue Children. So they train boots on the grounds, mostly in Nepal, but kind of everywhere to kind of rescue women and children from
I would
trafficking.
love to do that.
He's a cool dude.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Not that I have that much time right now, but my time is kind of my own. I just do what I love and want to do. But I would love to help in that.
Oh my God. He'd love to have you. Yeah, especially with your platform. Thanks. So the stories that we were talking about at dinner last night and kind of like what we circled back to this morning before we started recording, it's this idea of how like nature and nurture and how trauma can really like carve you into the person that you are. And then some people, it's the thing that breaks them. And what is, in your opinion, like what makes the difference there? Like what makes the difference between because like your story is so intense. Like there was times last night I was about to start crying. Like you have this superhero story, right? And like I just kept thinking of like a Marvel superhero. And there's this quote that the difference between like the hero and the villain is basically your outlook on life after the thing. Like you both go through like immense trauma, growing pains. Like you see evil, but one is kind of you now become cynical and think everyone else like deserves to feel your pain, and the other one is like I'm not going to let anyone else feel what I feel. And I'm going to step into the protector archetype.
I'm curious. I wonder how much of us we talked about this last night too, Candice. How much of us our personality traits and how much of our personality traits we inherit, and not just from our parents, but from theirs and theirs and theirs and theirs and theirs, and you know. Do we become protectors and champions, or do we become tyrants, right? First, I had the birth order advantage because I'm the oldest. So I had to most immediately feel everything and take on all of our lives' problems first. We were poor, and my mother was not well mentally. And she came from a world of abuse too. We're from the border of Texas and Mexico, my family. And I don't, as you can see, I don't look that Mexican. I look white. They call me güerito.
See, I think you look Spanish.
Well, thank you. I am Spanish, actually. I am Spanish. Yeah. But that didn't bode very well where I grew up. You know, I looked different than the other kids. Even my brothers are more traditionally Mexicano with more mestizo and Indio blood. So stockier, shorter, stockier, a little darker. My mother was abused when she was really little, and her brothers were abusive physically and sexually. Her dad was too. And it was... you know what I remember when I was really little there is her father like slapped his new wife effortlessly, like it was no big deal. Just slapped her for, I don't know, saying something, asking a question. And her dad beat me almost to death when I was 3 years old. Little did I know it's because I was the bastard child. And I wondered why everyone around was really mean to my mom. My mom was young when she had me, 17 or 18 years old. It was just a powder keg of abuse and cynicism and alcoholism and machismo into a space that turned completely, cancerous. But my father, Rudy Reyes Sr., who's not my biological father, but he is my father. I couldn't ask for anybody better. He fell in love with my mom, and my mom, I don't think ever loved him, but she needed somebody to take care of this little baby growing in her stomach. And I told you yesterday how much I admire my dad. Very few men, especially back then, but even now, would say, I'm going to be with you, I love you, and I'm going to be the father of your child. Nothing was spoken about back then, though, because there was so much shame involved. And my mother just never recovered. My mother to this day, and we have a very strained relationship. For about 10 years, I didn't even talk to her. But now I've seen her twice in the last couple of years, and she's just so emotionally, she struggles. And she gets unhinged And it's because she's still like a 12-year-old girl. I think I inherited some of my emotional qualities from her. She's very emotional. She's also got the most beautiful smile, and she cooks so great, and she can be the life of the party. And she's one of those beautiful women that men always love. And she's like 70 years old. and and so she gave me some of that. But it was so difficult to have any kind of stability. She left Rudy Reyes Sr., I think when I was 3, and then divorced at 4. And my little Michael, our youngest, was just born. And so we just moved. We went to cousins, to uncles, and then my mom shacked up with this dude, a hardcore banger from the West Side in Kansas City, Mexican, American gangbanger type guy, and narcissist, hair always perfect, beautiful, regal car. Everything was about his status and how he looked. And my mom was beautiful, but he wanted nothing to do with us. And so my mom didn't want anything to do with us. I guess I could have turned into, I could have been corrupted and just gave up, or just became evil or selfish, because it was really, really harsh. I mean, we had very little food. The idea of sharing and contributing was almost considered a character flaw in the environment that I grew up in. As a matter of fact, I was considered in those early years of my youth sensitive, weak, childish. And I was a child. I was only fucking 8 years old. You know? But I was physically strong, and I could beat up and beat best my older stepbrothers that would abuse us. But then they would gang up on me. And then if they got through me, they'd get to my little brothers. And it was just a really hard street environment to grow up in. And I don't know, maybe because Rudy Reyes Sr. took me to see Bruce Lee, and I saw Rocky. And the year I got to live with him from 6 years old to 7, my first grade year, I'll never forget it. He was a cop in Houston. Remember I told you we would shine his brass, we'd brasso his brass, and we would just couldn't wait to take off his boots and pull really hard to take his boots off. Michael and Caesar on one boot, me on the other. And he always expressed to me, my fortune is to be shared with my brothers, and that selfishness is the worst thing a man can be. It was so imprinting to me. I never lost it. I never, ever lost it. Now, I did notice I started having after effects. I haven't thought about this in a long time, but when I was in the boys' home, I had to really fight. And I had to start smashing people in the face, which that was very foreign to me. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be cruel, but I had to. And what a similar pathway for me in the Marine Corps too. Then I noticed I was quick to anger, or quick to fight. Not even anger, but to fight. And I became more aggressive and violent if I felt threatened, even if my ego, I'm talking 13 years old, if my status amongst this, gladiator academy was challenged, I had to fight. And it wasn't just a double A takedown, then I'd get on top of you and have to smash you in the face to assert dominance, so it would be safer for me later. And these are manhood lessons, but when you're a boy, it's hard to know where to put that. I still always loved animals. I still always loved comic books, and I don't know, maybe it was because of this incredible cruelty put on me when I was young, and me being the oldest boy, and the hatred I had from my grandfather. who whipped me really, really, really bad. Whipped me. And I couldn't breathe right for a few days. I was like that. But you know how resilient we are. The next day, I kind of forgot about it. It was cut up all over. But I was already outside playing and chasing the frogs. The hatred I had for him, how interesting is that? The hatred kept me on the good side, because I would never be like that. And I would do everything it takes to fight that and defeat that. And it wasn't exactly conscious. I'm thinking about it right now. It was that my entire life. The hatred of tyranny and cruelty and abuse. It led to the best things in my life, and then ultimately the Marine Corps, because we were going to fight in Kosovo. And I saw a documentary about orphans in Kosovo, and I really related. And it really struck me. I'd never used a gun before. I was a kickboxer and did tons of martial art and vegetarian, 155 pounds. A truly peaceful warrior. I won my matches not because I'm killing you, because I'm beating you. Because I'm better than you, because I prepared more than you. Not because I'm here to kill you, because you're going to kill me. But I joined the Marine Corps because I knew other kids were in danger. And that's what drew me to do it.
Yeah, we said this last night. I feel like you've had so many examples of where there's just obvious divine intervention from my,
Sure.
outside perspective. Like when you were getting into one of the fights at the boys' home to seeing that documentary, right? Like all of these little things that you could write off as not having an impact, like led you down to do something really incredible. So having being quick to anger or quick to fighting, how did you learn to temper that? Because that's really important for young men and men in general, right? It's like tempering and controlling
Yes,
it.
absolutely. Especially, with great power comes great responsibility. My Spider-Man, he said it all, and I was a huge X-Men fan. So I worked in the boys' home, and with my money, I could go to Aardvark Records, and it was a record store, and I could buy my comics. And I really immersed myself in these family dynamics of the X-Men and how they're outcast, and actually people think that they are the enemy, yet they save the world over and over for no credit. I really, really felt strong about that. I noticed when I became a really great wrestler and I became bigger and stronger and more formidable, dangerous, it was a deterrent. Most people wouldn't even want to mess with me. And so I learned that I could deter the conflict by being so physically dominant and in my space and in control of me that lower vibration boys and men would not want any part of me. So that's how I did it, really. Now, I knew the caveat to that is it can't be all show. This is the thing about, like, in the gym, the men lift the weights and they build their bodies, but that doesn't mean they can fight, and often they can't. I intuitively know I had to compete always. And so that's why I started doing Chinese martial art and sanshou and kickboxing and fast wrestling. And I knew I had to compete, not because I wanted to beat people up, not for that reason, but to prove that I'm on the right path and to face my fear. Because I don't like hurting people. I don't like showing off and dominating people. I don't like making people feel ashamed. I think it was a great lesson for me, because I was ashamed a lot as a little boy. I had horrible teeth and had really, ratty clothes. And I was that kid when people look at a bunch of kids and there's one that just is so disheveled and obviously, has a really messed up home, you don't even want to look at them. That was me. And what a lesson that was, because I just have always felt compelled to not put shame upon people. And what a life lesson that is.
The vibration part's really interesting. When I went to go do one of those Principled Savage courses, or I think it was the last one that I did in 2024, there was someone there, and Tuhan was teaching it, and then Keith, who's like the psychologist, so they kind of like blend the two, which is really neat. And this other person was very spiritual and was kind of saying that by participating or by doing the training or by having like a CC, whatever the thing is, that you're actually attracting violence because you're participating in it. And then Tuhan was like, it's actually the opposite, because when you become so in control of yourself and you're capable, it's that energy kind of like radiates from you, and then you have like the darkness, the evil, like the weak people that kind of feel that, and it's a repellent.
It's a force field, absolutely.
And he's
it's a
like,
force field.
look at all of the victims of violence. They tend to be women that are unprepared. So if your theory was true, like people like me, like, you know, like Tuhan would be the one that are getting assaulted or getting stabbed. And he's like, no one even, I walk through a room and you can see them spread like cockroaches.
Absolutely.
And he's like, it's the opposite. So you actually want to do the training, be capable, have situational awareness, and it protects you. It's not like this, like you're not like inviting evil or danger because like you carry a gun or something like that.
You're exactly right. I mean, you know, we kind of live in a little scrappy neighborhood right here. I just went down the street, and there was some unsavory characters, let me say, out there. And I definitely don't look like I'm from around here, but nobody wanted any part of tangling with me. You see, yes. Where I struggled was after Fallujah and Ramadi, and I'd been at war in heavily kinetic environments for so long, and I was a team leader, so there was this is when I crossed the threshold. Actually, even in the invasion of Iraq, we crossed the threshold from Luke Skywalker then into Darth Vader. I had to become Darth Vader. Now, I never tortured anyone. First of all, in the whole history of warfare, to not rape and torture and indiscriminately kill and assassinate. This is a first time in human history, in all of human history, really, to become some professional military force that is not conquistadors. This is the first time ever. However, I had to become so freaking hard, and I started, not intentionally, to revel in the power. Revel in the power and the strength of myself and my teammates and my platoon. Revel in how we could dominate the worst battle spaces in the world. And we needed that, or else we would have been afraid. It was just so dangerous. There's bombs everywhere, roadside bombs. There's every, military-aged male from freaking 8 years old up is an enemy, can be. And we were ambushed, and we had to chop our way through some heavy stuff, and then develop targets, and then do direct action raids on them, and snatch and grabs and kill or capture. I changed a bit. I was married back then, and I stopped going home. I couldn't be two people. I couldn't be Rudy, and I couldn't be Sergeant Reyes. I had to only be Sergeant Reyes. I had no idea what toll that would take from me. And then I was going into the dark side, and maybe it was necessary. Actually, I think it was necessary. And by the way, some other people in my world, I won't say names, or I won't say any specifics. Other people in my world during that time and then after would intentionally kill with knives or cut off heads of our enemy. Now, of course, after I did this direct action raid, and we got these DVDs and all other computer stuff, and then they ran it down, and this is something that you'll never forget, is watching people having their heads cut off and sawed off in front of TV, on cameras. And this wonderful man, he was a contractor, meaning like not a military contractor. He was an electrician, and he was there to make a great living for his family, to help rebuild Iraq. And he didn't know what was going to happen. He doesn't see the guys behind him. Mm-hmm. They probably sat him down on his knees and said their extremist rhetoric many times. He had no idea what was going to happen. And they came up behind him and they started working his head off.
Whoa.
When you see that, you'll never not see it. You'll always, it'll make you barely be able to hold in your rage to fight. But that's what I was up against. And so that's what I had to become. I'm going to tell you, it took 10 years at least to undo some of that. And I still work on it. I got therapy today. It changes you. But and the people that lean like too far on the left, or the people that are so-called educated, do they think that any way we can have this great country and have this freedom? First of all, where a woman can own her own business, and a woman can do what she wants to do, and our kids have choices, and hell, you can be any religion you want. All of this goes away if we don't have the strongest military and a society that backs what we believe in to be good. And we will be at war. We will be at war because the very human race is at war with itself. And if we want to protect what we have, we're going to always need men and women like me. So when I am criticized, or when people criticize my country, our country, about how cruel and how horrible our care is afterwards, and how much we are just resources and cannon fodder, and they don't give a damn, and the VA sucks, and you guys are fire and forget weapons. They don't give a shit about you. I say, well, what's the other choice? If I didn't have that $10 million of training and the best men, my freaking Recon brothers, and a culture and a society that gave me everything I needed to survive and thrive in the worst places in the world, if I did not have my entire country and all of our lineage that goes back through Europe all the way to the Greeks to know what was important for people like us to be able to do what we do, which is preparation, assets to prepare, then I wouldn't have survived out there. And many men didn't. At least I can work on my post-traumatic stress. At least I can work on my struggles with anger and depression. I would not be able to work on any of those things right now if I was just another killed in action on the battlefield. So I have a lot more patience and respect for my country as a massive entity, and I take more responsibility myself. I ask less of my country and ask more of me, and it's working out great.
So you see recruitment numbers down, and I think part of that they're saying is like the big DEI stuff that they were pushing, the last few years. But then I do think that we as civilians see how many homeless vets there are, the number of suicides a day that are happening, people that are struggling with like substance abuse, or even just integrating in general with their family. Kind of what you described is not unique, unfortunately. It's this idea of having like a split personality and feeling like a stranger in your own family. So you guys sign up to make the ultimate sacrifice and protect the country and potentially put your life on the line, or actually put your life on the line, potentially lose it. It seems like there should be more immediate and accessible aftercare when you guys are done, right? Like, I don't know what it's like because I obviously haven't served and I don't know the the bureaucracy behind it.
And
but
there is a lot.
And I've heard there's just so much red tape, and that you'll be waiting for months for services that you need. That it's intentionally very difficult to get these services, let alone to have them financed. So, do you see where do you see improvements or maybe I'm a big advocate of psychedelics for vets. I think that would be a beautiful option to have available for them instead of just doing an SSRI. It's maybe look at what Canada's doing and what MAPS are doing and just legalize it for that in a medical setting. That to me is easy step one. And one of the very few things I agree with AOC on is she's actually pushing for that, which I think is great. But where do you see improvements or suggestions?
Well, I'll just share a little bit about what I went through. After I left Fallujah and Ramadi, my ex-wife and I, we used to go work out together and swim together all the time. And we go to the gym, and someone takes my parking space. And but it's not really mine. but I'm still used to everyone knowing and respecting who I am. You know, at the unit, everybody knows me and respects me. And for some reason, I felt disrespected, and I was totally out of line, but I didn't see it at the time. And this is before alcohol and substance abuse. This was just me red fucking lining all the time. And I get out of the car to go freaking, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm probably going to hurt this guy. And then his son gets out, and then I'm even happier that at least it'll be 2 against 1. Maybe they'll have a chance. And then I hear my wife screaming and crying. And it kind of shocks me out of what's happening because I'm already moving forward to attack, and they're backing up. And I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe I've got a problem. And so I go to the VA. And this is in 2005, maybe 6. And back then, man, we were just knee deep in 2 wars. And they didn't know how to even create some kind of dialogue about what was going on. So the first thing they told me is that, oh, don't worry, you don't have any problems. Yeah, you just have anxiety, and this is natural. So they prescribed me medication. And I remember, I know something's different, and because I'm scared all the time at home. How about that? I'm completely frightened about everything, and I'm on guard on everything. And anxiety, I can't sleep at night. It's just really, really hard. But just hearing someone I didn't say to me at the VA, I didn't have a problem. I was just so happy, but I was crying because I knew I did. But just to hear them say, you don't have a problem, I was like, oh, I'm okay? And I guess all the stuff that I'd stuffed down, it was just starting to leak out of me. I tried those drugs for a couple of days. I did not like what I became. I became really numb. So I never touched them again. And I became a workaholic. And then after a workaholic, then I became an alcoholic. And then after alcoholic, I became a freaking drugaholic. Then I became a freaking fight-aholic. And then after I got into Hollywood and all of that, and it was up and down, I found more stability by going back into the military trade. And so I worked as a contractor, and I worked with Navy EOD. It was wonderful. I made a difference. And then I did counterterrorism for Homeland Security in Africa. I was making a difference. And I knew how to do these things. But man, when I'd come home, it was just getting worse. I went to the VA again. The thing is, how about, like, even when you go in there, oftentimes the first people you meet that process you or whatever. And I went through all these things. I was homeless. I was all over the place. I went to, 7 different VAs across the country. And I didn't have a VA ID from one to another. And I was so on edge. And the people processing you, some of them like morbidly obese and don't give a damn about you. And I got a stack of medals on my chest. I freaking killed this RPG team close quarter. I've made a 1,200-yard shot to kill this fucking man that was dropping mortars on us. I fucking did something, man. And then I've been treated like a piece of garbage, and it just gives me anxiety, and I start freaking out, and I can't go, and I have to leave. I found when I created Force Blue, when I created a mission for men like me who were special, to reconnect to being special and to having and connecting to the character traits of the honor, courage, and commitment, to the space of sacrifice and doing something to protect by rebuilding coral reefs and doing ocean conservation. When I created this, I got more healing and more stability from Force Blue, which was created by an enlisted freaking Marine that now has pararescue, SEALs, SAS, everybody together, Green Berets. I found more healing there of us getting off of alcohol, off of drugs, working out, doing special things underwater that special people can do that requires discipline and a intellectual acumen and planning our dive, diving our plan, and then debriefing afterwards. Man, I got so much more out of that than going to an institution. So I'm not sure if an institution is really designed to engage on these very intimate conditions and effects of a really sacred experience that mankind has been through since the Ice Age, since we've had to fight each other. I find that we're doing it better in-house, like Harley and Tunnels to Towers and Warrior's Heart, which is an incredible program to bring heavy military cats and first responders, because we all go through such combat trauma, that struggle with alcohol and drug abuse, and they get them back together. Another great cat, if you've not heard of him, his name's Micah True, and he does this horse program where he takes people that are in struggle, and they do a horse Mustang drive for 40 days.
Whoa.
In the field. Really, really spectacular. How are we doing this? And most of us are enlisted guys, and of course we got great officers too. Somehow we put our resources together. We have great attitudes, and we have, emotional and spiritual weight in great communities, and we're able to bring to bear, like with Force Blue, we have scientists that are part of our program, and it's because of the marine biologists and the reef scientists that we have access to massive funding, and because of that we brought in Pepsi and the NFL. We're able to do this intimately, just like winning hearts and minds and doing special operations and what made us successful as warriors. I find that we're doing better to help veterans in that way than an institution. Now, I'll tell you something good the VA did do for me. I was super, super, super stressed out, I think. Well, obviously, I have been until the last few years. I was working, I was living in two places, LA and Kansas City. I hadn't seen my son in 3 or 4 years. I had lost in court. I was really low. And I had this horrible infection in my eyelid, this big fucking pustule, this huge, I had to wear an eye patch. And I went into the VA in LA, and 2 doctors had never done this before, freaking flip that eyelid underneath, fucking cut that thing open, that fucking pus went, wow, the pus went, yeah. And then, so there was the doctor and the understudy doctor behind him, they went, oh, you know what I mean? So they did that good. They can do the medical stuff good, but I think the spiritual, emotional, the soft things inside, we do better amongst each other and our families. So also in Force Blue, now we've evolved in this way. We have a children's program called OCS, like Officer Candidate School, but it's Ocean Conservation School for the kids of our fallen brothers. And now we've opened up OCS to the children of all of our brothers, because we're noticing by bringing the kids in, the wives or the ex-wives, the moms, that everybody, this is how we're really making change. That's the model that's worked for us, and it's working very well.
Right. So basically finding community, finding something that's of service outside of yourself seems huge, and not just shoveling all of your emotions down, which tends to be the solution. I think a lot of, I don't know if it's fear or if it was just bad advice, but I see a lot of men that are just so apprehensive about sharing their feelings.
Yeah.
Right. And they think that that's a weakness, or it's not masculine. Like, a man has to be stoic in a way. And that's kind of how you and I started talking, was you shared that clip, and I watched, and it's this man, and I'll make sure we put that in the lower thirds, but it's this man who has this spool of wire, and he's getting really emotional about like how attached he is to it and what it means to him. And he's had it for 40 years. And
it's almost done.
Yeah. And it's like,
and his whole life is going through his eyes and his mind. Mm-hmm. His successes, his losses, his changes, his hopes, maybe some of the things that he has failed at, and it's there, right?
Mm-hmm. And then he's saying this to his wife, who's supposed to be your confidant, like the person you can show all of yourself with. And then she immediately starts harping on him about his Jets hat or something, because that
dismissive.
level of intimacy was so scary to her that she couldn't even acknowledge it, and she had to quickly like move on to something else. And then you see that and you're like, well, no wonder men don't share what's going on, because it's met with that. And what trash that is. So it's like, it's a failure on society in general, but I think you see a lot of weak women, and you had a good word for it. You corrected me when I said weak women at dinner last night, because it's like women that aren't okay with like a man's vulnerability.
Yeah. Did I say ill-equipped?
Maybe.
Something like ill-equipped. Unconscious. Undeveloped. Again, maybe that's a societal thing because we have it so freaking great and easy in this country that traditional roles that have served us as a human race for millennia, they've dismantled in the last 50 years. I've learned to be hard when I need to be, but my nature is to care. I'm a caring person by nature. Not everybody is, but I am. Especially us fighters, professional fighters, military, police, firefighters, combat sportsmen. We have to check our pain and check our suffering to the side to accomplish all the time. And then those of us that do this through our teens, 20s, and 30s, the most developmental time for men's brains and psyches, we almost have no experience and training with communicating with women. Not really. We really don't. And what we want to share, we don't even know how to access that. And when we're shut down or we're not getting what we think we really need or what we need, we can either put up the walls or go to the drink. Mm-hmm. And then we become diseased. I think it's been a lot of my brothers that have killed themselves recently is because, first of all, loss of identity. They're out of the Marine Corps or out of the service. They've packed a lifetime of combat trauma and what it does to our nervous system to be excellent there, which doesn't necessarily compute with being excellent here. And we have no experience of the banal day-to-day relationship-oriented discussions and themes that we go through day-to-day, that we go through in this life. So we don't have any experience there. And in some ways, I'll speak for myself, maybe some arrested development. Maybe part of the reason I've always been into the warrior culture also is because I wasn't going to get any love from my mom. She wasn't there. And then the relationships I had, to include my wife, I just provided and protected and looked beautiful in my uniform and made love to her when I'd see her every 4 months when I was in school's phase. And then I was going to war. And then I thought, well, I'm sending all my money home and I'm an honorable man. So what more could she want? Mm-hmm. And there's a massive gulf of what a relationship is as opposed to what we think it is, because we have no experience. And it's so much more. It's so much more trust. It's so much more intimacy. It's so much more care. And I just hope, I mean, that's what I'm looking for in my future. And how I'm doing that is I'm really working on myself. But my men that have killed themselves just this year, it was financial, and then alcohol or drugs, loss of identity, and the last one, fighting with the wife, and or losing the kids, or divorce, or divorce. Yeah. That failure and pain and not knowing how to untangle the emotions of that because you have no experience doing it. The pain hurts so bad. The shame I felt when I lost my son, the shame I felt by walking away from my wife because I didn't want anyone close to me anymore. And it was so unbearable when I was at my worst with drugs, alcohol, no job, and no son. And here I am possibly perpetuating the same way of growing up that I went through. That was absolute freaking horror. It hurt so bad. I thought it was an easy answer was to kill myself because I am absolutely useless and I can't take the pain. And I don't know what to do. And I had a divine intervention, and I felt God talk to me and tell me that it's going to be okay. And so I took action. I pulled the pistol out of my mouth. I took action, but I felt God say it's going to be okay, son, not even in words, but I felt it. Almost like my dad, God bless him, almost like my dad talking to me. And then I took action immediately, and I called my brother Caesar, and because I had lots of weapons at the home, and I said, come get the weapons. Dumped out the alcohol and dumped out the drugs, and then got clean and started training. And about a year after that, started Force Blue. 2 years after that, started a relationship. A year after that, got my career back. And the dominoes started falling in a good way for me. But I don't think men and women that take that permanent solution to a temporary problem, I don't think they're weak. They're afflicted. They're afflicted. I've been there. They're afflicted. And I'm compelled to do everything I can in my life now to be a voice for them and to help them. I just did a VA commercial I'm very proud of. It'll be out in a few months, maybe Memorial Day. And it's suicide prevention and mental health. And that they chose me as a representative to lead this thing. And that's why I'm so forward-facing with Force Blue and with physical fitness, because physical fitness is mental fitness. Mm-hmm. And staying positive. Vitamin PMA, positive mental attitude. I don't want to see any more of us go this way. It's been too many. It's been just too many. And I can't believe I have a beautiful brother. His name's Giorgio. He looks like the Southern California, even though he's from Oregon, Southern California version of Rudy Reyes 20 years ago. A beautiful jaw, beautiful muscles, blue eyes, curly ringlet blonde hair, legend Marsoc brother. And he's gone. And he retired at 38, a young man. Little did he, even though I know he must have felt so old and so at the end. And he's gone. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And I have another brother named Schumer, who was just the most beautiful, beautiful Recon Marine and Scout Sniper, and Marsoc operator. And he went through a divorce and the kids, and he's gone. I can't believe it. I don't even think they're gone. I keep them with me. And it gives me the strength to keep fighting forward for us and to be honest and real with life and with my struggles, because, you know, I do television and media stuff now, and people see me as a hero, and I am a hero. I am a hero in the classic sense. You know, hero, the word comes from the goddess Hera, and she's the goddess of marriage and sacrifice. That's where the term comes from, because it is a suicide mission, but one takes it anyway because it's for the greater good. But I want to make sure people are not projecting on me a invulnerability and an effortlessness and easiness that I have. Instead, it's in the struggle and in the fight that I gain my confidence and power. And everyone can relate with that because everyone's in struggle and fights in their life.
Mm-hmm. So what would your advice be to young men that feel that they don't have acceptance or support or an outlet, or that they're being punished simply for being born men?
Yeah.
Or the dark side of that, which is it's that kind of like caricaturized version of masculinity where it's like that machismo and you don't really show your heart or your feelings, and you talk down to women and like you're very aggressive. Like, how do you get back to like this more aligned masculine, or like a place of service or contribution, or like not equating your heart with weakness.
For young men, I think sport is so important. Sport, because you will lose. And in sport, you will lose and you'll have to get back up. It's incredible in its character development. And in combat sports, it's only you. Of course, it's your team, but out there on the mat, it's only you. But in team sports, what I've witnessed with Dylan with his hockey and Belladonna, my daughter with her volleyball, you can do everything right and still the team could lose. And damn, isn't that the real world, right? How many times have we done in our work or in our relationship or whatever? We can do everything our best or give it our very best and we can still lose. That develops character and a certain stick-to-itness and confidence. Confidence is so critical in young people. Real confidence, not arrogance and not pantomimes and singing and dancing about who you are. Not product-driven, not surface-driven, but purpose-driven. You know, it's not the clothes you're wearing, not the shoes you're wearing, not the so-called identity. Get the fuck out of here. I can't believe that we're even having these conversations these days. The Z-Zerms and all that. No. Boys must build confidence, and it comes through struggle, controlled struggle, loving struggle, with great coaches, men and women. Also, because I did not have a very good mother figure, I didn't have a mother figure, I would also call to the mothers out there to really interface with the fathers, not to become the tyrant or the devouring mother that makes all the excuses, but instead to interface with dad and other men, how to best be there for the boy when he needs the mother, which often means how do they model the kind of woman that they will find?
Yes, sir.
Not the love and the care. What kind of woman will they search for in the world? And then the men in their life be the man that they would be proud the boy grows into. It's been very, very powerful in my journey to be here for Dylan.
Yeah, those two role models, like there's not really anything you can do to substitute that. It's just, it gets baked into your subconscious whether you like it or not. And there's this quote I say all of the time that I got from my personal development coach, and it's more is caught than taught. So I can sit there until I'm blue in the face and say, this is the right behavior, this is the way that you act, this is how we treat people. But if I'm not living up to what I'm telling him, he's actually going to take just my behavior, not my lessons that I'm, just like verbalizing. So it's, are you showing up with integrity? How are you treating the father? How are you treating him? Because like the devouring mother is so interesting. I don't know if you've seen, there's this Disney short, it's called Bow.
I haven't.
It's only a few minutes long. It is so good. And it's this Asian mom, and the child is this little dumpling, and it's so cute. I cry like every time. And it is their relationship and how she kind of starts to abandon the husband, and the child becomes everything, and she's all consuming and overprotective to the point where at the very end, like there's this wild demonstration of like what that archetype is and how toxic it is to the relationship. Because if a mom doesn't, this is like Robert Bly, Iron John stuff. If the mom doesn't like open up the cage of like the wild man and let him step into manhood, then he's forever trapped in this cage. Like the mom is kind of the, like the last barrier of him allowing like his maturity. Like dad can do it, but like the mom really is a crucial part. So it's hard because we want to protect them and we don't want them to get hurt, but it's like, you can be safe with me forever, or I can let you out into the world and you can actually live. And that's like the ultimate sacrifice that a mom has to make.
Yes, and if you can be safe with me forever, then you will never become a man, and you will forever be an adolescent or an infant. And who knows what caustic impacts you will make now in the world that you're in with your marriage or your relationship or your work or yourself. It is absolutely necessary for men to go through rite of passage. It's necessary. And I'll always love my military and my Marine Corps for that. And I realize that's not everybody's way, but a boy must go through a rite of passage to become a man in some kind of service, in some kind of sacrifice. And remember, just not too long ago, 100 years ago, that was just 17-year-old husband grinding at the factory to put food on the table for his kids and his wife, doing 100 hours a day. And then 500 years ago, working the fields and dying at 40, and then fighting off the freaking natives or having to go on conquest. So the purpose was just in the survival of the bloodline itself was the purpose and sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Now we are so elevated with free time that we must seek a rite of passage. So, in harsher conditions around the world, they don't have to seek a rite of passage. It's happening in intuitively and organically. Mm-hmm. Here, we need to seek it, and we need to prepare our boys to search for it themselves.
Do you have one planned for your son, or have you already done one?
Well, my
he's like
plan.
Getting there, right?
Yeah,
That
he is.
age?
He's 12. He's
Yeah.
12. So my son is coming to Force Blue this year.
Okay.
Oh, he can't stop talking about it. He loves animals. He loves sharks. He's scared of them. And we're from the Midwest. He lives in St. Louis. He's not been around much ocean and sharks and rays and eels and cuttlefish and reefs. And he's coming to Force Blue, and it's a week-long training. I'm going to be side by side with him, and then my other Force Blue divers are going to be his instructors. And, they do textbook and classroom work, and then pool work, and then ultimately dives with us, and then night dives. And to be there with him and see him and see him experience with my men and the bond that we have and the connection to nature, and that we're rebuilding and bringing reef down with cement and actually being part of the solution. That's a first step.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That is a really cool one. It's very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Keith, the one partner with Tuhan that they do that thing, I think they did like a 3-day walkabout or something.
Oh, wonderful.
Where all they had was like a water bottle and a knife and just had to stay out there and survive the elements.
Mohicans.
Yeah.
Last the Mohicans. I love that about being a Recon Marine, learning to be in the field, learning to be confident and strong in any environment, Arctic, mountain, jungle, desert. The confidence that I got. I'm just so thankful for it. And that's why I love my country and my Marine Corps. We have our 250th anniversary, our birthday this year. And I'm being stretched thin because a few people want me. So I'm going to try to make it to as many as I can. Yes. The 4 pillars that I use for my alignment and health, and I thought about these when I created Force Blue. First is physical fitness, because physical fitness is mental fitness and confidence. Next is brotherhood and community. Next is Mother Nature. Something about the beauty of nature just absolutely heals you. When I was doing counterterrorism, I was doing counterpoaching. God, just impacts. And the last thing is a purpose. Mm-hmm. With those 4 pillars in balance, you can put a tabletop and you can stack anything on top of it. All your problems, all your goals, all your dreams, all your mistakes, you can stack it on there and it's going to hold. And when the storms come through and the winds and the rain, you can lay underneath it and have a shelter. Those 4 principles. And that's what we need as men.
Purpose is a really big one. Purpose, presence, there's 4 of them. I'm going to forget the other 2. With modernity, I feel like there's an anxiety that comes with too many choices, right? With that, like, we don't want to be overwhelmed with choices. It actually gives you like the, analysis paralysis,
That's
essentially.
Right.
And I think that can go into that realm as well. Do you have a methodology for finding your purpose? Like,
you know what I've done? Well, what I've done is, I've been doing this for a long time. When I embraced the hero's journey at about 11 or 12, to be a sport champion, to be physically strong and pursue the far limits of the human physical existence, whether triathlon or martial art, combat, push it, because then you learn so much about yourself. You also know how much pain you can endure. And when you're at the edge, you don't feel strong. You have to have this conversation with yourself. This is what it takes. This feeling is what it takes to be here. And you're always, in a sense, dancing with death, at least the feeling of it. Something about existing on the edges is the opportunity for self-reflection. You don't feel like a champion. You feel like the Reaper is right there. It makes you assess and reflect what parts of your life need to be positioned in what way. So, my strength, my health, my sleep, which is still hard for me, but that's what is part of my day. Next, my outreach. How am I making a difference to my country and my community? And now this is funny. My business is the last thing of me, the last piece. People would imagine because I'm successful now that the business is the first. No, it's not. Those things have to be first, because without that character, the business, I'd be taking every tawdry TV show. I'd be hawking every freaking bunk fitness equipment, and I would be doing this and doing that, and I'd have, instead of 100,000 in the bank, I'd have 100 million, right? Mm-hmm. But that would implode, because without the character, without all of this, I don't think that I could sustain for the next 30 years, because I believe with my team is New War Productions, Marine Corps Infantry Officer, Anglico Officer, Marine Corps Infantry Officer, Green Beret Officer, my teammates, John Yowie and Chase Millsap. And then I have agents at CAA. My agents are fantastic. We're building something that's going to last beyond us. I'm going to hand this over one day to the young Rudy, the future Rudy Reyes. I'm building something that is not for Rudy, just for Rudy. And yet, because I've taken that long road, I've been doing this 15 years, I think now, since Generation Kill. That's why I'm sustaining. It's, if I just thought about the business, meaning making money and making deals so that I've got more stuff. Just to let you all know, I'm the baddest dude in the 2010 Hyundai that I paid $4,000 cash. Thank you, Brandon, in New York, for getting that together with me. So I don't care about the stuff. I don't care about, my tank top. This is my uniform from my last VA shoot. My jeans, so rad. Recon brother makes these. My boots are from SAS Vietnam. I don't need the stuff, but I definitely am so spiritually ambitious that I want legacy. I demand legacy. So that's where I go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's beautiful. I think what I see, it's like this beautiful merge of skill set and then your life story, right? Like all of your traumas and those things can kind of met and then led you to where you are.
Yes. It's got to be divine, actually. It's got to be divine. It's not like one high school educated Rudy Reyes could come up with this, sacred geometry and board game of life that gets you right here. I think, I never thought, I never considered it. We were in heavy firefights and heavy ambushes and counter ambush. We were in heavy stuff, but the bullets always just miss me. The RPG goes right behind me, and other men were not so lucky. It was bigger than me. It's all been bigger than me. However, and it's interesting, some people that are religiously zealots with whatever it is, I don't know if giving it all up to God is the right way. I think cherishing creation and listening to the lessons so that you align yourself with them. But in doing so, you have to do work. Mm-hmm. You have to do work. I think, look how our bodies even reward ourselves for training or working hard. They become beautiful. Our minds, by working hard and accomplishing things through failure, we become confident. We become better leaders, fathers, brothers. I think we're designed to toil, and in the toil is the gold. So I toil, mm-hmm. and it's with love I do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be both. Yeah, because then you would be dismissing free will.
Yeah.
Right. And you have agency. That's the whole point in most religions. And I think just consciousness studies in general is we have it. And it's not guaranteed, it's an argument. I believe we'd have it.
Yes.
So if you have that and you believe in God, then it can't be all one or the other. It's like, it's again, this delicate dance. So I feel like you get these hints and these subtleties, and it's like kind of how a parent would healthily raise a child. It's like, this is like, these are the right things to do. I'm going to try to encourage that.
That's right.
But you're ultimately going to make your choice, right? And then that's going to have consequences or benefits to it.
Yes. Yes. I've got my simple plan, mind, body, spirit. And I've learned some techniques too, because, when I first got into entertainment, when I got really screwed over and got upset, I would attack. I take everything personal, and I do, and I always will. But you can use that for the benefit, actually. Now I know that before I react, I talk to my team. They calm me down, and in that process of sharing with them, I calm myself down. I've got a therapist too. And reflect. And now I've learned that I can fight battles without being aggressive. In action, sometimes I fight more effectively without being aggressive, especially in the strange nuances of business, because so many people have agendas. And you know what? Because I work so closely with my agents, Dan Pine especially, they have children. They have wives and husbands, Santini, and they have families. They're not just they're often cast as just the mafia of entertainment. No, these are my human beings that fight tirelessly for me, and I will fight tirelessly for them. When we can somehow shift our consciousness and our heart space into that we are one team, one fight with our family and then our immediate community and our teammates and then maybe our business, when it becomes that, it's completely open-ended. It's completely upward facing. It's a trajectory that goes upward. And the bitterness seems to just go away, or the fear goes away too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what a beautiful world that would be, because I think it's in every community, but I see it a lot in the military space especially, which is that crab out of the bucket.
Yes.
So you have someone that is excelling and doing really well for themselves, and it's the immediate response of a lot of the community to kind of drag them back down.
Yes.
And try to take their credibility away. This happened to one of my girlfriends.
Oh, God bless.
She went on Jocko, and I guess after it aired, a whole bunch of people made all of these false claims, and they pulled the episode down without talking to her.
Oh no!
And
assassinated her character and all this stuff.
So she had to go do the legwork to prove that her stories were actually true, and they didn't have to do any work or to provide evidence
had
of
to
what
do the work.
Right, to say that no, I'm not full of shit.
Yeah.
That's so awful. It's a rising tide, and to have that scarcity mindset makes no sense, because how about you befriend them, and not out of this kind of Machiavellianism way,
said.
but just to learn as a mentor, and then go along for the ride, instead of saying I don't want them to have the thing I don't currently have.
Well said. Well said. Another reason why Chase and John and I started New War is Chase was really successful. He created something called We Are the Mighty. It was an online platform for everything military, with one of the creators of MTV. They created this thing. It was magnificent, and then they sold it. And he built his house. He's got a beautiful daughter and wife in Ohio, living the greatest, soliloquy of freaking masculine happiness. And then we did a project together, and we've been friends for a long time, brothers for a long time. And I said, I need help. What do you think if we made a company together? Because the truth is, I don't feel that good about just doing stuff for me, because I don't feel that good about living in LA. I don't feel that good about talking about myself as a brand. What if we get more people in this profession so that we become a team? And then John Yohe, after his service in college and the amazing man that he is. He was my manager, and he was like the first manager I've ever had that had the physicality and looked like a super stud too. You know what I mean? And when we all three came together, and our drive is to build productions at every level, in front of camera, behind camera, writing and producing, of men and women that come from our background. Why? Because so many stories and so many things that are so compelling to the human audience, they're based on war and the return home. This is the hero's journey. This is Campbell-esque. Why don't we tell those stories and put to work our people, who are the hardest working people in the country? They just need new communication skills and need to feel safe like they were in the unit with what we're doing now in profession. So that was the drive. That's my drive, and it's so much more fulfilling. You know, we just did this documentary. It's going to blow your freaking mind. It's Currahee to Normandy. Currahee is where the 101st Airborne trained to do the big paratrooper mission for D-Day. And Normandy is where they landed and fought. We took the actors that portrayed the band of brothers, real heroes. My actor brothers, who are British, we brought them to Army Jump School. They trained as paratroopers. And then on the 250th anniversary last year, they jumped in period equipment and did it for real. And you want to talk about tears.
Whoa.
And the old folks and the old timers and going into the French town and the legacy, the heritage, the greatest generation that's still living through all of us now. And we produced that and directed that. I'm excited about that. I'm just as excited about that as I am the next season of Special Forces. Even maybe more so, because I believe that is a greater accomplishment for me, is the next concentric circle. And that's going to continue to expand. You watch.
No, I can't wait to see it. And I want to check out that other show as well. I was talking to our friend Dan last night.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, he was saying you were getting cast. They were trying to cast your character, you as a character for something.
Yes.
And they couldn't find anyone that was appropriate, like no one that would fit you. So you had to play yourself.
Yes, that's how I got started. That's how I got started, Candice. I had no, you know what, to all you haters out there, all you haters, because I used to have some. Actually, now I hardly have any.
Good.
Hardly have any. I hardly have any. But at first, the haters were, oh, you're handsome and you got muscles and you got all the breaks and that's why you got into movies and entertainment. And yeah, I mean, of course, look at you. They have no idea. I grew up with rotted out teeth, lice, ringworm, hepatitis, almost died in the hospital for the boys' home. They have no idea, you know, that I was a bastard son trying to freaking carve his way through childhood and adolescence. And that at Recon, my first year at the unit, 23 of our bros died just in training. I mean, the austerity and the difficulty and the self-effacement it takes to do it. You know, of a Marine Corps of 300,000, there was only 300 of us. And it wasn't the equipment, it was the ability and the training and the discipline and the toughness. And I didn't know anything about movies except artists did it. Mm-hmm. I always loved films, but being in the Midwest, how would I know even the beginning of production? How it works. First, you got to get the money and then start selling distribution before you've even thought about putting the production together. Then there's the hiring process, and then there's casting. There's so much. I had no idea. But Generation Kill as a book, after the articles, The Killer Elite, which, by the way, I gave the writer, Evan Wright, rest his soul. I gave him the idea for the title because it was an old James Caan movie from the 70s. And he embedded with us for the invasion. And he was there for 2 weeks, and he got out of there after 2 weeks. And he wrote about what he experienced with us, leading the entire thing and chopping our way through every freaking city and every hamlet of Iraq. And HBO loved it so much, or he then wrote a book, the book bestseller. HBO loved the book. They said, we want to make a miniseries. And they didn't know the first thing about the military and how to do it. So Evan called me. Evan said, Rudy, you've got the greatest reputation. You're respected and you're good with people. Do you think you can organize a dog and pony show at Camp Margarita at the unit to bring in the producer, director, and my producers were both British, and my director was a female, Susanna White. I love her, dear friend of mine, a female fucking war movie director. Like Bigelow, come on, she's so much better. Susanna White, and she did like Jane Eyre and Bleak House, like these period British dramas. Now she's doing the freaking most epic miniseries about our global war on terror that has become all of our stories. Mm-hmm. It's become Dan's story. It's become the Air Force's story. It's all of our stories because the culture is captured so correctly. And so after I created the dog and pony, paratrooper operations, freaking hand-to-hand combat, water survival, obstacle course, everything, weapon shoots, and they were like, God dang, look at these Greek gods. You remember, we were all younger then. Everyone's like this. And fit. I mean, really fit. Meaning lean, nobody more than 190 pounds, normally between 170 and 190, can run a marathon any day of the week and swim. And they were like, how the hell are we going to cast this? How are we going to cast this? These guys, they're more beautiful than anything in Calvin Klein, yet they're fucking killers. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do? Rudy, can you please equip and train the actors? We're going to Africa to do the production. I said, absolutely. It's my unit. I have pride and respect. My incredible Recon brother, Eric Cucker, and Jeff Carazelis. It was us three. And we ran a massive 6-week-long, not boot camp. We threw them right into advanced infantry skills and then recon skills to culminate with the final mission. Oh, by the way, freaking haircuts, gear issue, uniform. They are that name from here on out. Just like a proper course, just like what you would see in SAS or Special Forces, what you see on what I do now, mm-hmm. That's what I did with these cats, except for 6 weeks with a lot more hand-to-hand combat and tons of schoolhouse work. They had to learn rank structure. They had to learn strategy. They had to learn radios, acronyms. They had to learn how to dis and ass weapon systems. And they were still looking to cast me. Because I was super into my health back then. Remember, I never drank alcohol, only green tea, sushi and vegetables, really, really working on longevity even then. Mm-hmm. And some guys would be too, because they say I'm Latino, they would be too, East LA. And then because they kept describing me as beautiful with beautiful skin, then they would be too effeminate. And they just couldn't find the right one. And then so when I went into audition, and this is the funniest thing ever. I go into audition, and John Huertas, who's a very famous actor now that was on Castle, Puerto Rican Air Force veteran, very good actor, been doing it 30 years. And then he's been on This Is Us. Mm. He plays like the grandfather. He's got that's John Huertas. He played Tony Espera on Generation Kill. He's right behind me to sign in to do the audition. And he's a classically trained actor now too, tons of courses, tons of TV and movies. And so you've got to sign in, and then who you're going to audition for. I've never acted in my life, never been on TV ever. I've never done none of this. All right, Rudy Reyes, auditioning for Rudy Reyes. And John Huertas was right behind me, and I didn't notice, but he was like, damn, this dog is in it. Whoa. Is he at the actor's studio? Is he with Mize? Is he in New York? How come I've never heard of this guy? This guy is so in it. He wrote his name as who he's auditioning for. Damn. Oh my God. I didn't find this out till months later. He told me. And yeah. And it helped that I look like myself. Acting was tough at first. It's a new thing. Being comfortable in front of camera and putting down the barriers, but I learned on the job, like I've done so many times in my life.
That's so amazing. He's like, this guy is beyond method. This goes way deeper than method acting.
Too much. Only actors would think that way, right?
Yeah.
Too much. Too
No,
much.
that's hysterical. No, obviously you take incredible care of yourself. I am so excited to go work out after
Yeah,
this.
we're gonna go train.
I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
I've been training people and training with people my entire life. I know how to scale things so that everyone gets equal training value. If a person is pushing their 100% and it's at a 3, fantastic. If I've got to be at a 9, fantastic. How many times also I've been injured and damaged, and I have to work around things. The life of a warrior athlete is that you're always facing injuries and pain. I empower and lift people up. And so we're going to have a blast. I'll show you some of the things that I do and see if you can take a few things on board that would work with you. And also, since I don't have a gym membership or anything like that, I mostly train on my own. The people that know me from Instagram, my Instagram works. I always put my training up for free and show what I'm doing. It has to do with the press, pull, a lot of calisthenics, locking your body in a way that's tight and being aware of activating muscles, and then doing athletic movements. Most importantly, having the passion to do it every day. And if you do that, everybody can get better.
Yeah, when I saw your workout routines, I was like, there's no way that his body looks like this from this workout. It just, because we're trained, you have to like lift these big heavy things and be doing squats and,
barbells, dumbbells,
bench press. And
now I've done plenty of that, but when I found in Recon, if you can't run, swim, and carry a ruck, run a ruck in the mountains of Southern California and Deluxe Canyon, then none of that other stuff matters. And so you streamline everything. We're all muscular, but you're never so big that you're tired. And as you get older, carrying extra weight, you're going to be feeling it in your knees and your shoulders. And Candice, notice I don't have a single tear in my biceps, shoulders, or chest. Most men my age, I'm 53, are tearing pecs, biceps, whatever. You don't even see stretch marks.
No.
Look, no stretch marks.
Yeah.
Because it's over a lifetime of training, somehow being as fast and as strong and have the most endurance. So it's never one or the other. It's somewhere in the middle, and you're always cycling through it. I save my knees now for a course when I'm out on Special Forces and SAS. So I do stairs. I swim hard. I kickbox and do jump rope, a ton of jump rope to keep my calves and feet very strong. But I don't run that much anymore, aside from sprints, because I'm saving the impact of the knees. I don't... squatting with a bar and all of that, that's great when you're younger and your discs have not been compressed. And I bet carrying 200 pounds on my back through freaking combat didn't help that. I've had a lot of freaking, how many hard hits on parachute landing falls, and how many heavy freaking operations doing amphibious insertions with full kit and coming out, when our dragers, our combat dive rigs, they freaking hang on her neck. It's called Drager neck. I'm gonna get so freaking strong from holding this kit up here and your fighting kit and your weapon and your ruck. It takes a toll on your body. I'm for undoing some of that damage and keeping myself vital and strong. So important. Oxygenated blood. Breathing and pushing blood through the tissues. And that's what's going to keep us young for as long as possible.
Yeah, well, let's go do it.
Awesome.
Before we sign off, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you, projects you're working on, and we'll make sure we link everything below for you too.
Awesome. Well, Fox and streaming on Hulu is Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. I've got the greatest teammates. SAS, Command Sergeant Major Billy Billingham. Foxy, the super heartthrob SBS cat from England as well. And Joe Von Quarles, my SEAL brother. We've got 3 seasons on Hulu that you can stream, and I'm in prep now for season 4. Generation Kill on HBO. Don't let the kids watch it, but if you audience out there want to know what the culture is and the sacrifice and the levity that we have fighting because we love and believe in each other, please watch Generation Kill. I have military mysteries on history. I've got all kinds of little stuff out there, but those are the big ticket items. And if you want to check me out on my on my website to see some of my projects that I've done and some photos and some things like that. It's just rudyreyes.com. And my Instagram is realrudyreyes.com. And I put forward other veteran and first responder charities and or projects because I believe in them, or people that have overcome insurmountable odds. I share that. And then I share my physical fitness with what I got and try to inspire people to get better and to become more in their bodies and more in their life.
Amazing. This is great.
Thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And before you guys sign off, if you could hit that like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review, I would sincerely appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.